Hello, it's Axel from Happiness Life Coaching, and I wanted to talk about a book by Martin Seligman, which is called Flourish, which I recommend for anyone who's interested in the concept of well-being and happiness. And just interesting thing about it, and just to show you, I think you can get an idea there. So the book describes itself as a visionary new understanding of happiness and well-being. It was published some years ago. I just want to clarify, it's probably not totally new. For those of a Christian faith, you probably know the so-called Sermon on the Mount, 9 happinesses, none of them depend on what other people do. So that was 2,000 years ago, the concept of proactivity. And that the few things that depends on other people, it doesn't depend on other people doing good things to you. So what is new though about the way he explains it for those interested in psychology is understanding a concept that in the wording, he's saying like happiness as we know it is not enough. And I continue to use the word happiness. My business is Happiness Life Coaching because I believe there's a difference between happiness and cheerfulness. Yeah, cheerfulness is like, hey, you go to a party and you have an awesome time, you're having a great time, you're feeling on a little bit of a high, but you might go home and go on a big downer. So cheerfulness is not the same as happiness. A person could be at a funeral, understandably sad because of losing someone, but they have a sense of well-being and happiness inside about their life, their connection to the loved one. And so in this book, Martin Seligman, talking about positive psychology, he exposes some concepts or components of what should be well-being. And I'll just, if you can see there. So, it's not enough to have just, any one of these concepts. And just to mention them, I'll read them out to you. So he talks about positive emotion. So take into account all factors. How well do you feel? How happy do you feel? He talks about the component of engagement interest. So do you love learning new things? Are you progressing, or did you just pick up the guitar and then you dropped it and you never went beyond 2 chords? What about meaning and purpose? That's another component. Do you feel that your life is valuable and worthwhile? A fourth component, self-esteem. In general, how do you feel about yourself? And by the way, this is on page 27 of this edition if you choose to purchase it. Now, the other one is optimism. So optimism is generally how hopeful are you about your future? Do you have an optimistic outlook? Now, just notice that these are all components of that overall happiness and well-being. That any one of these on its own just won't make it. And then you've got resilience. When things go wrong in your life, how long does it take you to get back to normal, get back on your feet? Well, the opposite would indicate lack of resilience, would indicate a lack of well-being. And the last one is positive relationships, which is, the people in your life. Are there people who care about who you are? So I just thought it was worth highlighting that and mentioning that because really, it's not enough to have just one component. If you've got resilience, you're like, I'm a fighter, I'm just going to keep going, but you're generally negative about things, or you're not an optimist, that'll take points away from your overall happiness or well-being. If you think you're an optimist, but you're a bit of a loner and you don't have positive relationships, that might still take away from your overall sense of well-being and happiness. So recommend that book if you get a chance, Flourish. And just the takeaway is that your sense of well-being depends more than on just a state of being, like a cheerfulness in the moment. When you have all the components, then you can generally feel better about yourself and your life.